These days, Hollis Thomases doesn't find it hard to describe herself. As a self-proclaimed reinventionist, Hollis has iterated herself and her career multiple times, the latest of which has turned into her second business venture called Reinvention Works. Reinvention Works is a centralized multimedia and communication platform to empowering people and businesses to take control of their next future through tools, education, networking, and marketplace. She knows a thing or two about reinventing because after graduating college, she moved to Baltimore knowing no one and having no job. She had a 10-year career working for trade associations, small businesses, and large corporations alike. She left it all in 1998 to start her first company, a digital marketing and advertising firm. After successfully growing that company for 15 years into a multi-million-dollar business serving a prestigious client portfolio, including Nokia, Johns Hopkins University, Nature Made, and Four Seasons, and during which time she also became a regular columnist for Inc.com and wrote a book on Twitter, she felt it was time to move on to her next incarnation. Her pursuit of her own reinvention led her to realize the need to help others on their journeys too, and Reinvention Works was born. And I have to say that I was fortunate enough to be on one of her segments. I talked about how you start a career at 50 and how you start a business after 50. So Hollis and I are pretty much in tune when it comes to that market. So welcome, Hollis. How are you today?
I am fine, Dr. Gale. How are you today?
Great. So why don't you, we gave a little bit of a synopsis of what Reinvention Works is all about, but why don't you tell our audience what it is exactly?
Right. So Reinvention Works is really a platform designed to both provide information in the form of content and media, tools and tips to people who are going through reinvention, but also so that they can meet each other and get support and ask each other questions, so a peer-to-peer platform. And then there is kind of in the marketplace area, education, webinars, like you said, you were part of my still ongoing month-long series called Mega Reinvention, but programs designed to facilitate the reinvention process. So I wanted to roll it all into one.
I'll tell you, reinvention is a part of my middle name, so I really love what you're doing because people need it, and I think people get stuck, Hollis. I think people get stuck, this is the way it's always been, and I'm afraid to start something new, and, I don't have the courage. I really applaud you because this is what people need. So I think it's really terrific what you're doing. And we'll let people know how they can still get a hold of those recordings and listen in to what's been going on there. But I wanted to ask you something else. You have this multi-million-dollar business, which is incredible that you would leave something like that. So how was that business startup different than what you're doing now?
In a lot of ways, it was very different. First of all, I had never started a business before, and, it was the blind and dumb leading the blind and dumb. I really just bootstrapped that business, and it became very quickly something different than what I had originally conceived, but I was responding to what the demands of the market were. And so part of it was that I didn't originally set out to create a service-based business. I created a product-based business, and it became a service-based business. And in so doing, I needed labor. And at the time, in 1998, there were very few people who were versed in anything web, let alone trained in online marketing. So I had to develop an online training program. And when I say online, I literally trained these people online. I recruited them online, and I trained them online, and I had them working for me as telecommuters back before that was even popular. So I had to forge new ground in all kinds of ways. I didn't even know how to start a business, so I got help from things like the Small Business Development Center in my area, and soon after that, the Economic Development Center in my county. But that was kind of like all stumbling around in the dark. But the actual business and the pursuit of that business was completely foreign to a lot of people. So I had to create something from utter scratch. This business is a little bit different than that. I'm more savvy now because I know what tools and resources are out there. And the notion of reinvention isn't unique. So back in '98, I had to explain what online marketing was. I still have to explain a little bit about the notion of reinvention from the what does that mean to you, the individual, or you, the business. But it's not an unfamiliar word. So what's different is what I'm trying to do with it and what I'm trying to bring to market. And so I actually recently wrote an article about the fact that I kind of feel myself back in '98 where a lot of what I'm doing hasn't been done before. Like the online conference that I just started and did, I still haven't found anything like that. Now, did I set out to do that conference because it hasn't been done before? No. I just feel drawn to the sort of cutting edge of innovation in that way. So that's what happens.
Well, I think that's great. I'll tell you. Let me ask you. I mean, first of all, tell us a little bit about your own reinvention. I mean, are you done yet? I mean, I've reinvented myself. I think this is my 5th or 6th reinvention.
Remember that.
Are you done reinventing yourself? Give us an idea of where you're going from here.
So, first of all, one of the things I think is really powerful is that I am in the midst of this reinvention. I am not done because done to me is relative. But for this particular incarnation, no, I'm not done because the future of it is uncertain. And, will I come out the other side still doing what it is that I'm doing? I don't know. So I'm living the journey with the same people that I'm attracting. I am completely in their shoes walking this walk, and the curriculum that I developed for Mega Reinvention was based on the things that I saw from my own experiences and from talking to people who are also going through it simultaneous to me. So I wanted to, when things start hitting you upside the head is obvious, I felt that I should bring them forward. But I don't think anybody, especially in this day and age, is completely done. I think we have pauses and deep breaths, just kind of like in life. So if we don't keep evolving and changing with the times, then we'll have issues. Because think about, so I find it so fascinating that it's 2016. And in 2006, very few people were on Facebook, very few people were on LinkedIn, very few people had smartphones. And now look at the world that we live in. And that was just 10 years ago. And so if we think of the pace of acceleration as something like having that, every, however incrementally, if they took us 10 years to get this far, is it going to take us 5 years to get to, hover cars and retinal eye scans to get into buildings, for the ordinary person, because it's already happening in government places? How far away are we from sort of the sci-fi movies that we just all saw a decade ago? I don't think we're that far away from this stuff.
So let me ask you, what scares you the most about your reinvention, and what excites you the most?
What scares me is the unknown a bit. The not knowing if what I'm putting literally all of my blood, sweat, heart, and soul into will really work, and then will I be back at the drawing board? Because it's an exhaustive process. And I would say even more so what scares me is going backwards. Going backwards to do something that I absolutely have no joy for anymore. Because I've been so reinvigorated by my reinvention process that going backwards doesn't even feel like an option, but it may become a necessary evil at some point. So that part absolutely scares me. What excites me the most is the promise and the so close I can almost taste it of what I'm doing for others. I'm the kind of person that really enjoys helping other people and being authentic in that process. So I'm so close I can taste it, and that makes me excited. But I'm not totally there yet because not everything is finished. Not everything is perfect. Many things have not launched yet.
So what are your most powerful takeaways that you've learned from this? I mean, hopefully you've learned something because it's a big project. I mean, I was part of your series that's ongoing right now. But how many presenters did you have in that? You had a lot of presenters.
Well, I have 30 days of content, sometimes twice a day, and panels containing 2 to 3 people, 4 people at a time, including me. But so, up to 5 people on the panel. So more than 30 people. It's, well, what was the original question?
What were your takeaways? Yeah, how many people? Well, I asked how many people you had on this webinar series, and you said 30, and that's a big number of people to coordinate. I mean, I know what I go through lining up my radio shows and getting in touch with people and making sure they do what they're supposed to do, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you had 30 people, and it was a webinar, and that means people see people, and they had to have PowerPoints and things like that. So I guess I would say that's what I asked you about. But then I really wanted to know what your powerful takeaways were from your own reinvention journey.
Well, my powerful takeaways from the event itself is like, holy moly, I could do this. It was a little nutty, but look what I did. So it's a huge, huge feeling of accomplishment. And
it also puts you on the map. I mean, it also puts you on the map, as someone to be really looked at and paid attention to.
Thank you. I would say that in terms of my own reinvention, I don't doubt that I can reinvent, because I think that having reinvented before, and Dr. Gail, you might be able to speak to this, is reaffirming. So I think people who have reinvented before feel more comfortable doing it again, and that's part of what I'm trying to bring forward to the audience I speak to, many of whom who've never had to reinvent, many of whom worked in careers they thought they would be in for life, or they had a 25-year career with a couple of organizations, but they had the same career track doing the same thing. And helping people realize that they're not the only ones out there doing this. So I have had a very powerful personal experience in creating this that says to me, I am doing the right thing. I am on the right path. It's just how long is my runway? When is the intersection between the effort that I'm putting in and, frankly, being able to sustain it by making a living at it? That's my...
Well, that's true. That's very true. That's very true. So what's next for you after Reinvention Works? Or
after the event?
Is that it?
Well, no, I mean, it's really interesting because that's what I wrote in my newsletter this week is, I am asking myself what's next. There's a couple of things that I think are next. Well, first of all, Dr. Gail, the content from the program is being uploaded to a brand new website that was already supposed to be launched and live. And so we are, scrambling to get that live before the end of the month, which means I have less than a week. I think we'll get there, but it'll be dusty and dirty and not perfect. But that's also part of my takeaway is that the theme of this year's conference was intentional imperfection, because I am a perfectionist. And so being a perfectionist holds me up from just doing. And I am fighting against that nature in me to just, get stuff done and be okay with it being imperfect. So the website will launch. It won't be the perfect website. We won't have all the content. So part of what's next is to populate the website with a lot of the content that we have from before the event, and then new content, and keep that going because, I believe that stories that tell of other people's journeys is what keeps people motivated. And you have to, part of that is you have to get those stories. You have to capture those stories. So I was already doing that. Then I think that there's the development of more programming, like I already created, There were a lot of topics that I just either couldn't